Thousands of desperate Afghans converged on the Kabul airport in hopes of getting a flight as the U.S. and allies raced to evacuate their citizens, along with some local Afghan staff. Joining me now is Kamran Bokhari, Director of Analytical Development at Newlines Institute for Strategy and Policy. Kamran, thanks so much for being with us. We know that a lot of lawmakers had been pressing the White House to evacuate Afghan allies well before the country fell to the Taliban. We're going to be hearing from President Biden at 3:45 today. We'll be carrying that live here on Yahoo Finance for our viewers. But what does what's unfolding right now in Afghanistan mean to the Biden administration and to President Biden personally on the global stage as a leader?
So I think that this is a very bad situation for the president because of the way the withdrawal took place, and not just the withdrawal, but the collapse of the Afghan state and just the manner, the botched manner in which the evacuation has been conducted. The fact that the president, first announced, his administration first announced they're going to send 5,000 troops to evacuate, and then the number was increased, and then the president said he'll talk to the nation in a few days. Then that was changed to in a few hours. This shows, the clear signs of an administration that has been overwhelmed by what has happened in Kabul, the Taliban takeover. It's a very embarrassing situation, not because of the withdrawal, because the withdrawal goes back to the Obama administration and then the Trump and then, successive administrations been part of that plan. But the way in this was managed, and for the simple reason that this president came and said, I'm going to restore American credibility around the world. And this doesn't really, do well for that. It's the exact opposite. So I'm thinking this is politically very damaging for the president at home. And of course, the credibility of the United States around the world has been seriously harmed.
Talk to me about what this means elsewhere outside of Afghanistan for stability on the geopolitical stage. I know in a recent op-ed for the Wall Street Journal, you talked about and outlined what this might mean for Pakistan and for China. And of course, for us here at Yahoo Finance, what would the ultimate impact be on the global economic recovery, which we know at best right now is a fragile situation?
Well, look, this is going to lead to more instability in that region and, of course, around the world. One of the things that, not a whole lot of people are talking about is how this sort of boosts extremist and terrorist forces all around the world who are emboldened by what has happened. And this sends a message to everyone that, to emulate the Taliban and in their respective areas. So this creates a situation of more global insecurity. And if we're going to see groups all across, Eurasia and in Africa and elsewhere begin to react more, if you will, in an emboldened manner, then that's not really good for business, especially at a time when the globe is reeling from COVID. We're just barely making ourselves out of the COVIDian age and trying to get the economy running again. These events are really, really bad for that, especially these images of U.S. transport aircraft taking people out and, Afghans rushing onto them and then falling from the sky. It's in many ways, this is worse than Saigon, at least from an optics point of view.
How so? And, we were actually looking back, speaking with a market historian earlier about how the market went on to do quite well in the aftermath of Saigon, and he was likening it to what's happening now. But how is this different from what took place in Saigon?
I think, look, one of the things that we forget about Saigon is that we just look at Saigon and we say the Americans lost and withdraw, and then, we pull forces out. So, but we forget that the Nixon administration, particularly then, Secretary of State Henry Kissinger, clinched the deal with China, which was something that really changed the shape of the political balance in the world. the Chinese were split from the Soviets, it was a big win for the United States. So it didn't have that kind of effect. Right now, after 20 years of being in Afghanistan, to have that state that we focused on for 20 years expended $1 trillion plus and lost thousands of precious lives, and then we have a state that collapses in 9 days to the Taliban. That has a different impact. Now, it may be that the markets say, look, this is just Afghanistan and it's going to be there, so it doesn't really affect us. That may very well be the case. But I think that a U.S. administration, or at least the appearance of a U.S. administration not being in control and fumbling, sends a different message to the market. So it may not necessarily be what happened to Afghanistan, but how the U.S. has dealt with it.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Kamran Bokhari at Newlines Institute for Strategy and Policy. Good to have you on the show. Thanks for your time today.